It is 1 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica. National Signing Day continues. The majority of Tennessee's commitments came this morning. The Vols currently have the number 16 class in the country, according to the 247 Sports Composite. Earlier today, four-star running back Justin Williams choosing Tennessee over Auburn, and four-star defensive lineman Tyree West taking Tennessee over Florida State. Huge news as the number one overall player in the country, cornerback Travis Hunter, flips at the last moment from Florida State to Jackson State. He'll go play for Deion Sanders for an HBCU. COVID outbreak in the NFL, over 75 positive tests in the last 2 days alone. Browns quarterback Baker Mayfield, one of those from earlier this morning. The Titans placed wide receiver Dez Fitzpatrick on the COVID list on Tuesday. He joined safety Jamal Carter. As of right now, those are the only two for the Tennessee Titans, although the Preds announced today the team has 6 players and 6 members of its traveling party in COVID-19 protocol, although Thursday's matchup against the Colorado Avalanche still on for the moment. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. I say this sometimes. It's like the mound scene in Bull Durham. We got a lot going on here. Candlesticks make a great gift. Oh, there's a lot going on here. Lucas is like, I've never seen Bull. Have you ever seen Bull Durham?
Nope. I've got nothing on that one.
Okay, you're dead to me. There have been times where I've felt like you were a son to me. I've never felt less. You've never mattered less to me than you do.
I'm so sorry. I truly have. I've never seen it.
I mean, you're young. You stay up late. It's never been on TNT or anything that you've watched.
When I was a kid staying up late, George Lopez was what was on TV.
No, it wasn't. Everything was on. You get like 178 channels with basic cable. What are we doing?
Well, you got to have Netflix.
Okay. Yeah. Blaine said you got to get Netflix. I don't even know if it's on Netflix, but it's everywhere.
YouTube.
Just go home and do you get any type of cable or any type of satellite TV service?
YouTube TV.
Okay, I don't even know what's on YouTube TV, but just go home and search that and watch it, and then come back to me with a full report. Okay?
I'll do my research.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Wow, what a terrible start to the show. I'm fired up. It's signing day. There's, good news for Titans fans. Bud Dupree is in the window. By the way, can we have the return window sound effect? Bud Dupree is in the window.
That's track it down there.
That's what that meant. Thank you. He's in the designated for return from injured reserve list. He can practice. So everybody's going to be watching the practice report today. See about Uncle Bud.
Oh, all the videos are out like vultures, I'm sure. Ooh, we got to get Bud Dupree.
Oh, we'll be watching those with you in a commercial break.
I did have a abductus longus injury, which is abdomen-like, which led up to the abdomen.
Well, the abductus longus bone is connected to the abdomen bone.
Yes, it is. It is, man. Wow.
We're very scientific on this show.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting, boy. It sure lasted for me for about 3 weeks, and then snap, crackle, pop right in the playoffs. No can do. You're like running in quicksand. Those core muscle injuries are serious stuff, man.
You never played again after that, right?
No. I had surgery, and I was done. It was it. They say if he's running as slow as he is right here, he's too slow.
Hey, again, I know it's signing day. Ryan Callahan is going to join us in just a minute. Today is an anniversary, though. 25 years since something happened. Do you know what that is?
25 years.
It's been 25 years to this day that something happened, and you did it.
Oh, I did it?
Yeah, you were there.
Oh, okay. We moved here. I don't know.
Yeah, it was the last game ever in the Astrodome. Was 25 years ago.
Okay.
Today.
Okay, yeah. Who did we play?
Oh,
you don't know?
No, I don't know. A Houston Chronicle reporter.
I don't know, and I'm
earlier.
asking you because I don't know. It was like 5,000 fans there. I don't even know the number, but it was a low number. It was like, hello.
You were there.
Hello.
Did you think, gosh, what's Nashville going to be like? I wonder if I like it.
First thing I thought was, I'm closer to home.
You are closer to home.
Yeah, that's all. I was like, oh, man, that's driving distance, man. So, yeah, that's all I was thinking about. So that everything else fell into place.
I sure did. And here we are 25 years later. Titans getting ready to take on the Steelers, who were a hated rival then. I still think it's a hated rival, although there's a lot of Steeler fans everywhere you go.
Oh, no.
Everywhere.
They definitely got their following, that's for sure.
Part of that is people our age, if you grew up in the 70s and you had no team in your area, you got the Steelers and the Cowboys on TV. They just force-fed you there. Ryan Callahan joins us now from 24/7 Sports. Did you grow up as a Steelers or Cowboys fan, Ryan, just because they were always on TV? I say that knowing you're younger than I am.
Man, you know what? Well, yeah, I guess that wasn't as big of an issue maybe for my generation.
No, you're older than us.
Hey, no, hey, we still, you had to go with the regional games, right? And I grew up there in Middle Tennessee, so yeah, the Cowboys were on a lot. 49ers, that it was back during their heyday, I guess. But for a little while, I was a Cowboys fan. Not gonna lie, I did kind of grow up at that prime time for the Aikman, Emmett, Irvin teams. So
Oh man,
I knew it.
man.
Everybody succumbed to that.
Did
Steelers or
it?
Cowboys.
I was a Cowboys fan too, to be honest, until
it was
I got
before
in the
the
league.
Titans. It was before the Titans. As soon as
Yes,
the Titans
it
got here,
was.
it all changed. But back then we didn't have a team, so.
Yeah.
They broke you. They broke Ryan Callahan. He rooted for the evil empire. This is his busiest day of the year. It's a Super Bowl. It's go time. Ryan Callahan at Ryan Callahan 24/7 Sports. So the Vols, last I checked, up to number 16 in the 24/7 rankings. We can get into what's already happened, but are they waiting on anything else? What are they waiting for at this point at 2:06 Eastern time, where Knoxville is?
Come on, drop a bomb on us, Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think if there is anything else that will happen today, it's likely something that would qualify as a surprise. It would there's a possibility. James Pierce, a 4-star edge rusher from Charlotte, North Carolina, has been a pretty big priority target for Tennessee for a while. He's been talking about, or it sounded like down the stretch that he would wait until February to sign. There's a chance he could go ahead and sign today, so we'll have to wait and see if that happens, but. That's at least on the table for this afternoon, one of those wait-and-see things. But I do think there's been at least some optimism there that Tennessee might be able to talk him into going ahead and signing today as opposed to extending his recruitment into early February.
Hey, tell me about the guy named Squirrel. I'm from the country. I like anybody named after an animal.
Well, yeah, he's out. He's looking for his nut.
What's going on with Squirrel? Lucas says he's got some great tape we all need to watch.
He does. He's fast, as the name might suggest. He that nickname kind of alluded to that being the case even when he was a kid. Just how quickly and suddenly he moved. Back when he was around his grandmother one time when he was very young. But he's small and fast. About a 5'10", 155-pound receiver. So he's going to need to put on some weight once he gets on campus. But definitely no shortage of speed. That's what they envision him providing. Definitely a slot guy, I think, at the next level. Was very productive this year on a team down in Alabama that won a state title and had a very, very good career, but definitely a good senior season in particular. And yeah, I think that's a nice pickup. Georgia made a late run at him, really over the last several weeks, but had him on an official visit last month. Made things interesting until the end of last week when he finally decided to just shut it down, not take a visit to Auburn last weekend, and sign with Tennessee. So I think that's a nice pickup and give Tennessee credit. Not necessarily an under-the-radar guy that only they were on early, but a guy they were on pretty hard early whose stock, I think, rose throughout the year. And by the time you got to signing day, it looked like a pretty nice pickup.
Get nuts here talking about Squirrel with Ryan Callahan of 24/7 Sports. By the way, go Vols 247. That's where you go to get all your info today.
Well, he's collecting
every
all
day.
of that today,
He is.
Well, I guess who would you say is the leader, I guess, of this signing class? And I don't know if that means they're the highest rated or maybe you're the most intrigued guys. You're interested to see how they develop with under the Vols coaching staff.
Well, I think any signing class, but especially under this coaching staff, I think you start with the quarterback position. So one of the guys I'm most intrigued by in this class is Tavin Jackson, top 247 prospect from the Indianapolis area. Finished his high school career with back-to-back state titles and has played in a run-heavy offense. So he's not really thrown the ball a ton in high school, and so he's a little bit raw coming in. The good news for Tennessee is he's an early enrollee, so he'll have a chance to go through spring practice and settle in, and maybe that helps him get up to speed a little bit more his freshman year. But with Hendon Hooker coming back, he shouldn't have to start early in his career or anything like that. And maybe a year down the road, he's a little more prepared. But certainly has impressed some people throughout the year. Went to the Elite 11 finals earlier this year and really impressed some of our analysts out there with his I think upside is the word everybody came away talking. They say, he's not there yet, but you can see the tools are there. He's tall, pretty good athlete, not a guy who runs a lot right now, but has enough athleticism to make some plays. Just a lot of things to work with. So I think he's still a guy who needs to develop a little bit more, but a guy that you can definitely see the potential there to be a pretty good quarterback down the road if he continues on that track. So he's one of the higher ranked guys in this class, and certainly one that I would start there. And then I like Joshua Josephs too, edge rusher from the Atlanta area. I think he's certainly got a chance to be an impact player on defense. Maybe not right away because he's a little bit light, needs to probably add some weight realistically before he's a full-time player or anything like that. But I think down the road he's got a chance to be I think a pretty good pass rusher at the SEC level. I saw him a couple times in person this year, and he's quick, great athlete, can do a lot of things, and I think both those guys will be or at least have a chance to be pretty good players in the SEC.
Well, they changed the fake slide rule so quickly. I mean, I blinked and they changed it really the next week. Do you think they'll move this early signing period back to make it a little more convenient for all parties?
Yeah, it's something they are discussing already, and I think it's a worthwhile discussion to have because there's no doubt. And look, the NCAA had to see this coming. I think everyone kind of knew what an early signing period would likely turn into, but their original intent was to provide an opportunity for the players who wanted to sign early and just get their recruitments over with. And obviously from year one, that's not what it's been. It's turned into essentially replacement National Signing Day. So now this is the main signing day. And I think in year one, it was somewhere around 75% of all players nationally went ahead and signed early. The last couple of years, it's been somewhere in the 80 to 85% range, I believe. So it's a lot of players that are signing early and very few who are taking advantage of what we know as National Signing Day. So it's changed the game. And when you have coaching changes and everything like that, that's being that's kind of throwing a wrench into everyone's stretch run, it makes it hard. You've seen teams like Oregon, getting a coach into place less than a week before signing day. They're having to scramble to see what they can get. Even teams like Florida that had coaches earlier, still not able to really completely do what they want to do in recruiting down the stretch. So it's just hard, and I think it's something they need to discuss, and that they are discussing because it is not what they intended it to be. And I'm not sure what they can do with it, though. It's going to be interesting. It might be a situation where they either keep it or get rid of it, but I'm not sure where you could move it to make it any better. Football's calendar is kind of year-round, and a lot of things are stuck in place that make it hard to move it anywhere else.
No doubt about it. We're on with Ryan Callahan, Go Vols 247. I guess one more for me. I don't know if he committed today or not. I was just kind of on my watch list because I know Tennessee was recruiting. That's that big D. I think it's the D tackle, the Nolan kid that committed a while back to A&M. But has he verbally committed today, or is it still an open window here to recruit him?
Well, yeah. So he's been Walter Nolan. He's been committed to Texas A&M since early November. He's set to sign this afternoon. He does have an afternoon signing ceremony. At last check, that national letter of intent had not been submitted. Sometimes when guys have an afternoon ceremony, they'll go ahead and sign ahead of time, and the ceremony is kind of just for show. I don't believe he's done that yet. But regardless, he does have an afternoon ceremony set. Is expected to sign with the Aggies this afternoon. So I'm sure a lot of people waiting to make sure that happens because his recruitment has been so wild. But for the Tennessee fans out there that might be hoping something changes there late because he's in Tennessee's backyard, that just have heard nothing so far to suggest that anything will change there. So we'll see what happens this afternoon. But by all accounts, he's expected to sign with Texas A&M.
Do you think a lot of schools are still, holding over Tennessee and just kind of having an edge in recruiting, even though they did a solid job, I think, but with the investigation still out there and not knowing the penalty, how much did you think that played a part in this recruiting class?
Hey, I don't think the investigation has really hurt. I think in some ways that's been a little bit overplayed. I think the biggest thing that hurt Tennessee earlier this year was just the timing of the coaching change, sort of the lack of buzz that there was around the program at the time because of the way last year went. And the extended dead period in recruiting that happened after Josh Heupel was carried over through the final or the first month of Josh Heupel's tenure. He came in late January and couldn't meet any prospects face to face until June 1st. You can have FaceTime conversations all you want. It's just not the same as meeting people in person. And that just set them back. They were building relationships from scratch in most cases. They didn't recruit the state of Tennessee a lot at UCF. So they're meeting guys in state and in other states around here that they just didn't know, didn't have much of a foundation to build from. And so they were just playing catch up a lot and really behind in terms of just Tennessee being out there in a lot of prospects' minds. So I think they did a good job to make up some ground and get some pretty good players in this class. I don't think this is a class that is going to be seen as like a program changer necessarily, but I do think it gets things going back in the right direction. I think they've salvaged what could have been a worse situation and made this a pretty good class. Honestly, a few months ago, I thought Tennessee was going to sign a top 25 class, that they would be hard pressed to crack the top 20. And here we are wondering if they can get into the top 15 at the end. So they've come a lot farther than I thought they would. So I don't think the investigation and all that held them back very much. And I think now that they're able to at least go out there and say, we're not going to self-impose a bowl ban. So they're just kind of waiting on the NCAA to finalize everything. I think a lot of that's kind of out of sight, out of mind for a lot of prospects. I think most of that's kind of behind them. So we'll see now going forward if they can keep building on it. But I think they've at least got things going in the right direction as their close this year kind of suggests.
Yeah, no doubt about it with 22 class. But man, 2023 could be really huge in the top 10 class.
They have some potential for definitely improvement there. I will say the one thing working against them in the 2023 class that is the tough part about this 2022 class for Tennessee is it was a missed opportunity, I think, in state for Tennessee. And some of that, again, just came down to the timing. But this is a really, really good in-state class in 2022. And 2023, I just don't know that it's going to be quite at that level. So we'll see what they can get done in state. But that's the impressive thing. Tennessee, again, on the verge of it having a top 15 class, despite currently having 2 in-state players in the entire class. 2 is not good enough. They need to do better than that. They certainly needed to do better than that in this in-state class. But next year, probably not quite as many opportunities in state to do as much of their business in state as they would have liked to this year. So we'll see what they can do. But I think certainly they've shown this year that they're on the right track and certainly ready to be more of a top 15 recruiting program like we've seen traditionally over the years. And we'll see if that can translate to a top 10 class or something like that.
Ryan Callahan, our guest from 24/7 Sports. I know you only got a little bit more time, but who was the biggest, maybe last-minute addition? Tyree West or Justin Williams? Who's the guy who's flipped here at the last minute that maybe could help the most?
Yeah, Tyree West is the one that definitely sent the biggest shockwaves, I think. That was one that, he was a longtime Georgia commitment, committed for more than a year. But one of those situations where it was pretty clear he wasn't signing with Georgia. And a few weeks ago, Florida State got a midweek visit from Tyree West. Everything had pointed to Florida State from that point on being the team to beat. And so Auburn emerged, Tennessee emerged. They were battling for late visits. And in those visits, Florida State, I think, thought those visits were kind of afterthoughts. You always worry about visits, but I think Florida State thought it was in the bag, basically. And he goes to Tennessee this past weekend, and that last weekend visit was enough for Tennessee to kind of swing it their way. So that was a bit of a surprise to a lot of people, certainly at Florida State. They had a couple of unpleasant surprises today, obviously, with losing out on the number one player in the country. So they've had a tough day, but that was a bit of a surprise on both sides. I think Tennessee fans pleasantly surprised by Tyree West, and they really needed some defensive line help. They previously only had one true defensive lineman in this class. So that gives them another one, and Tyree West is now the highest-ranked player in Tennessee's class in the 24/7 Sports composite rankings.
I guess real quick, I was in a meeting for a while right before the show for a couple hours, but did Tillman or Mays decide on what their decision is going to be, or did we find out yet?
They haven't yet. We spoke with Cedric Tillman yesterday, and he hinted that a decision would be announced fairly soon. Most signs, I think, are pointing to him coming back, so I think there's a good chance he returns. Cade Mays is the one that's probably a little bit closer to a toss-up right now, and I think he admitted that in a radio appearance last night. I think he's kind of waffling a little bit because the draft projections he has out there are not bad, probably not as good as he would like, but he also still has some unfinished business maybe at Tennessee and might have some NIL opportunities at Tennessee coming back as a fifth-year guy that weren't there this year potentially. So I think he's got a lot of things to weigh, and he's enjoyed playing at Tennessee, but that's the one that probably is the biggest one to watch now as far as who will stay and who will go. We know Hendon Hooker's staying now. Cedric Tillman, again, I think leaning towards staying. So Cade Mays is the one now that if he can come back, that pretty much brings back that offensive line intact as far as we know, and would be a pretty big addition by keeping him around really for Tennessee's offensive line.
Any breaking Bronny James recruiting news on the way out?
Nothing there, but hey, good publicity for Tennessee, right? If nothing else, they're in the discussion for LeBron James's kid. Can't hurt to have that kind of name being associated with your school, right?
Well, we know if anything like that happens, you'll be on top of it. Follow him now at Ryan Callahan 24/7. Go Vols 24/7, or just anywhere on the 24/7 network of sports. Ryan, thanks so much for giving us some time on such a busy day.
Appreciate it, Ryan.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Ryan Callahan. When we come back, hit the phones. Derek from Smyrna is on the line. You want to talk signing day? You want to talk Titans, the return of Bud Dupree? There's a lot going on. We'll get to it next. Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone. Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone. I had a Cowboys fan on the line. I was curious to take that call in like 30 seconds before the break, and he dropped.
Oh, he dropped?
He dropped. It's all right. Call back in. We'll take your call. Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline, 615-737-1045. At last check, it is National Signing Day. Vols up to number 16. Ryan Callahan just joined us from 24/7 Sports. He said they had a chance to maybe crack the top 15. So they're up to number 16 now. Vandy up to number 31. So right down the street there, Clark Lee, his first.
That's pretty good, man.
His first class up to
First class?
up to 31. There've been some years where they were much further behind that. So
Typically around the late 40s, 50s, and that's a good deal. Yeah, so this is pretty good. Yeah.
No surprise here, Blaine. Georgia is number
Martin
one.
Simmons.
You think that guy doesn't know how to recruit?
Yeah, Martin Simmons.
That's his whole world.
Coach Lee, yeah, man, they're doing a good job.
Yeah. Georgia is number one. They have 4 5-stars and 15 4-stars. Alabama, Lucas, I know he's following this whole thing. He's a young guy. They got that recruiting deal down pat. Was A&M second most of today? Because it looks like Georgia just passed them on Alabama, rather, just passed them on 24/7.
They were. It's interesting because A&M, Georgia, and Alabama are all kind of jockeying here. Any one of them could end up as the top team in the country as far as recruiting today.
Ooh, I think A&M's going to get them. Alabama can't get first at everything. Come on. They're
good at basketball. They're good at recruiting.
They got to get second at something, man. Every now and then, man. Somebody got to clip them up, man. Come on, man.
Hey, when Alabama got good at basketball, I've got some friends who are like SEC grads from different schools. They got mad. It's like, this is not fair. Alabama cannot be good at everything.
Lost last night.
Oh, that's right. They did. To Memphis.
Yep.
On the ugliest basketball court I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, the game was chaotic, too.
It looked like it was played on in front of a blue screen.
I was
And like
watching
that's
it, but
just
I
the
wasn't
court they
watching
projected.
it.
I watched part of it.
It was on, but I was doing a whole bunch of stuff. I know Shackelford by halftime wasn't doing so well. Did he pick it up in the second half?
Not enough. Memphis kind of ran away with it. It does make this matchup in Bridgestone Saturday a little more interesting.
Well, people were throwing Memphis just out with the garbage.
Well, Penny Hardaway was.
Yes, he was.
He's saying everybody's selfish.
Oh, well, it worked.
Hey, man.
It worked.
Hey, Penny pressing the right buttons over there now.
Uh-oh.
So as of right this second, let's synchronize our watches. It's 1:30 exactly on the stadium clock here inside the studio. Georgia, Alabama, Texas A&M, then Ohio State, then Texas. Then James Franklin. He got him another extension. He's number 6. Notre Dame, number 7. But their coach in Louisiana dancing with his family. North Carolina is number 8. Michigan 9. Oklahoma 10. Kentucky is number 11.
Ooh.
Stoops, baby. Auburn's number 12. I know they just lost their quarterback. Missouri's number 13.
Missouri has the number 1 wide receiver in the country, Luther Burden, and the number 9 quarterback in the country, Sam Horn.
Dang.
And Kentucky cleaned up in Nashville.
Oh, they got the
Keaton, bro.
Yeah.
Destin and Keaton Wade and Barryon Brown out of Pearl Cone, who Alabama was gunning for as well.
Hey, my man Drink. Drink was at Arkansas State with me. I know that cat. He's the silent assassin.
That's where another year Tennessee can't let all those guys get out.
No, that
all
fence,
of them can't get out.
Fence has got to get built now.
Yeah, now all bets are off. Everything's fair and even, with the calendar. So next year, which may be, as Ryan just said, may not be as strong as this year, but they got to get the majority. I'm not to say you got to get them all the elite ones, but they got to get, 70% of them. If it's 10, you got to get 7.
Yeah.
Got to get them.
Yeah.
But the Drinkwitz thing is crazy because it's not like they had this crazy upward trajectory this past year.
Right. They was middle of the road.
Kentucky
they were 6.
They made a bowl game.
Yeah.
Kentucky at this point is pretty established. Mark Stoops is a great program there, so I get it.
Drinkwitz has been 5-5 and 6-6.
I think he was 6-6 this year.
5-5 and 6-6, I think is right. Smooth talking devil, man.
Yeah. He's got a little sense of humor to him too, man.
Oh no, he's funny.
Yeah.
I did not see this coming, and I've been around him some. Him being like, the funniest guy in the room. Stanford is 14, Florida State 15, Tennessee 16, right ahead of Clemson at 17. Arkansas is 18. Indiana, Blaine's home state, University is 19, and Michigan State is 20, ahead of Ole Miss at 21, LSU at 22, and then South Carolina is 23, and then Mississippi State is 24. So there's kind of a bunch of your.
South Carolina got Rattler, man. I mean, and that coach Beamer recruited him there at Oklahoma, so this could be trouble. They finished 6-6 too. They had a nice strong finish. They were an improved team. I was impressed with them at the end of the season compared to when Tennessee played them early. Man,
he held them together, and then they got better down the stretch.
Yeah, so Rattler could change the coin toss is still going to be there between Tennessee, Kentucky, South Carolina. You got to make sure you stay at the top of that tier, and maybe they get a chance to get Florida with a coaching change.
Yep.
But man, the middle to upper tier, the SEC is tough. You trying to get up in that upper tier, boy?
Oh, yeah, good luck. Is everybody at the top?
I mean, Alabama's not included in this equation.
No.
Everybody listening.
A&M needs to win more than 8 games, though.
Right.
Okay, it's time.
Yeah.
This deal needs to start working at the highest level.
Yeah.
That needs to start working.
How many games they won? 8.
8.
No.
Yeah, they weren't they. They were 8-4.
Didn't they pay? He's got did he get $100 million contract?
He got like the first "What in the world are we doing?" contract.
Dang. I just always feel like
A&M.
he's underachieved since he's been there, and I say that with a grain of salt because we're expecting 10 or more wins, and then in the competition for the Final Four, and he clipping Bama.
His best season was a year ago.
And
they were on the verge of the
9-1. They were that
yes.
close.
Yeah. So I feel like he should be steady there
every
year.
They should.
And then I think I'm like, okay, but he hasn't. He comes up a little short.
They have unlimited money.
Mm.
They're one of the schools that has unlimited money, where he can literally walk down the hall and say, "I want an aircraft carrier," and they'd be like, "What color and what? Where do you want us to park it?" They have that kind of money. We were told. On a show, Matt Stinchcomb, who's a SEC network guy, literally said they are building a Death Star down there. This was a couple years ago. Like, he was saying all these things they were doing. Like, when they were going on a road game, they were going a day early and just setting up camp wherever they went. And he was talking about just elaborate spending, and they've done great things with the stadium. They're one of the schools that has absolute unlimited money.
Oh, unlimited resources. So that man, they should be in the hunt. If I'm sitting there, and I know a lot of people say, "Oh, who can you get better?" You go like, "Hey, man, we're paying him top dollar, and he's just coming up a little short." I would love to see, and I know he's gotten a lot better. His record compared to Sumlin, percentage-wise.
Oh no,
I think he's better. I think he's better at this point in time now after these last year or two. But I'd be interested to see where he's at. I know Sumlin came up short too, though, and that's the reason why. But he's like maybe one more win a year than Sumlin. And I go, that's still not enough for me to feel, all right, that's the guy. He gets over the top.
We need to Twitter search that because people put out that graphic every so often, and Sumlin has been ahead of him every time on it.
Yeah, he's got to have passed him this last 2 years, I think.
We'll have to find
percentages because I know he's a great coach, and you say, well, who can you get better? But, man, when you pay him that kind of money, I'm expecting, and what is this year going on, year 5? What year is this for him? There, 4? 5?
For Jimbo?
Yeah.
5?
He was hired the same year Pruitt was.
So this is year
He just finished year 4.
4. So he's going on 5. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's with the big pay comes big expectations. And I think he's the right guy. I mean, to get him over the hump, but they keep being right outside the window.
They haven't won.
They always disappoint in one game every year.
They win
one.
They win one they're not supposed to.
Yeah.
And then they lose one that you're like, what?
Yeah, that kills.
They went 9-4, 8-5, 9-1, 8-4. They haven't won 10 games yet under him.
So what? How many wins? What's his win?
That's 34-14. He is at Texas A&M.
Probably right below that.
All right,
34-14. I'll write that down. 34-14. Man. That sounds really good, man.
All right, I got Kevin Sumlin right here.
He hasn't made any Final Four.
No.
Or anything.
No.
Neither did
He got close last year. Kevin Sumlin
Who was he?
Was 51-26.
51.
Here's his first 4 years. 11-2, 9-4, 8-5, 8-5.
And they got rid of him when he won 8. They're like, that's not good enough.
8 was the next year. He was there one more year. He was 11-2, 9-4, 8-5, 8-5, 8-5. Then he went 7-5, and that was it. So he was there 6 years.
So their line is 8, and then if you get below 8, they you got to go.
He went 7-5, and that was it.
Yeah, okay. But his win percentage 51-26.
51-26. That was after 6 years. So we'll have to do some math in here with the 11s and the 9s and the 8s and the 8s to see where we wind up.
I was just trying to see, man. I feel like he's just a little bit better than Sumlin. I don't know that for a fact, but I want to look at, stats kind of, that's how you gauge how well you're doing. I mean, man, that kind of money, I feel like, ooh, you just a little bit short of that. But, who you going to get better, right?
So what was he? He was 36-16 in his first 4 years.
No. Oh, I thought you said 34-14.
No, that's what Kevin Sumlin was. He was 36-16.
Oh, in the first 4 years, yeah.
Yeah. He would have played a couple more games because he had no COVID shortened year.
Yeah. Okay.
So what was Jimbo?
Jimbo was Jimbo overall. I'm just doing overall because I want to do percentages, not based off the first 4 years. I want to do percentages. So you said Jimbo was 36-14. And Sumlin was 51-26.
His full years there.
Yeah.
After 4, he was 36-16.
So they were about the same.
Yep.
Almost the same.
Yeah.
After 4 years.
Yep.
Okay. So does it wear thin and the pressure get to you, and then all of a sudden you dip a little bit? I don't think Sumlin's on the same plane as Jimbo, but the numbers say they're the same.
Numbers say
the first 4 years.
Yeah, say they're the same guy. Well, I mean, if I'm the AD, I got to walk down the hall and have a hard conversation. Like, hey, man, you getting 10, 11, 12 win money. You're not getting 8 win money. I got to answer to a chancellor. I got to answer to a board of directors. I got to answer to a lot of people who are literally bringing wheelbarrows of money to this place for you to win 10, 11, 12, really 12 games.
Is that how that conversation goes?
Yeah.
I'm
having that conversation.
If I'm the AD, the coaches, they be like, all right, then I'm out.
Okay, no money. Fine. Okay, then I'll see who I can get better. No money. You leave, you don't get hey, you walk out. Sorry. No money.
Oh, man.
No mas. No dinero.
Oh,
Bye.
Man, these dudes, he'd be like, I can go anywhere.
I don't know. All right.
You wait to have this conversation like in the summertime where all the coaching jobs are accepted, and then you go in and have that conversation.
Well, I don't know why some managers don't understand this, where you get up and you go talk to your people. Why, some people who are very, important members of management teams of places don't go and talk to their employees. I would go and talk to my coaches. I would find a way to talk to them every week. I would set a time to talk to them. Now, I know they got
because
how many sports at Texas A&M. It may take a little more to cycle through it than every week. It's not like Arkansas State where they got 15 sports.
Well, the big revenue sports you got to get.
You got to go talk to them every week. So if it's like, okay, coach, football coach wins. Hey, man, 5 o'clock on Monday morning. Okay, I'll see you at 5 o'clock. I'll bring the coffee. We'll talk. We'll talk.
I bring a glazed donut.
I'll bring you a glazed donut or jelly, whatever you want. Just one. Right, because we don't make that much money. All right, we got to take a break when we come back. Zach, Jeff, we will come straight to you when we come back on the phones. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Phone lines ringing, all sorts of different stuff here. Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline, Zach and Jeff and Willie. Let's try to get all three of these guys in. Zach, thank you for calling. How you doing?
Oh, doing good. How y'all doing?
Good.
We're doing great.
All righty. So I'm a long-time listener, big fan of the show. I just was wondering, just wanted to hear you guys' opinion on the AFC South race kind of heating up a little bit. I feel like if the Colts are able to win this Sunday, or Saturday, then I feel like it's going to come down to the wire. And I just wanted to hear y'all's opinion on that. Thank you.
Yeah, they play the Patriots, correct?
Yes, thank you, Zach, for the call and the nice words. Yep, they play the Patriots on Saturday night. New England at Indy.
Man, hey, you know how much I fear New England. Even though the Titans beat them both times, man, I would not want to play that team again. I'm hoping that they lose. I think it's going to be a good game. Actually, I think the Colts are going to beat them.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah, I really do. And so the Titans better make sure they handle business, because then that would leave them only one game ahead, correct?
If they lose, it would.
Yeah, if they lost.
Their magic number is 2. So they need one. If they win 2 more games, they win the South. If they win 1 and the Colts win 1 or lose 1 somewhere along the way, any combination of Titans wins and Colts losses, they're down to just 2 because they beat them both times.
Right.
So the Colts would have to win literally 1 more game than the Titans.
Right.
So
if
they
tie, then the
so
Titans
literally,
win.
let's say terrible things happen. The Titans lose to Pittsburgh and the 49ers, but they beat Miami and the Texans. That's all they've got to do. Any 2 wins, that's all it takes, or combination of 2 or 1.
But the whole question is, if the Colts squeak in and fashion, even though the Titans,
I wouldn't want anything to do with it.
Yeah, I don't want to play those guys.
I would rather. I mean, if it was me, I would rather play the Patriots again than the Colts without even thinking about it. I'll give you Belichick. I'll give you everything. Titans have already beaten the Patriots in the playoffs.
I don't know about that again.
I know it's Belichick, but I don't want anything to do with what the Colts are doing right now.
Yeah,
Although the Titans have a chance to have a whole lot of dudes back.
Right. And so we haven't seen what that'll look like. And
Have
if
not.
they'll be up to speed, and how much they can carry the load for what they do on the field and be at their prime and at their best. So, the Colts, man, they're a dangerous team, man. It could be one of those teams that, barely misses the playoffs. You go, man, I sure wouldn't want to play that team.
Nope. And there's somebody like that every year.
Yeah.
Let's get Jeff in Rhode Island was kind enough to hold. Jeff, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, guys. Hope all's well with you. And it kind of stole my thunder a little bit. I was just going to ask you all what your opinion was on who you're rooting for on Saturday, Pats or Colts. I mean, which team do we want to tie? I mean, maybe that would help both. I don't know. Which team do you root for?
Well, I guess we would
that's
be
a good
rooting
question.
for the
Thank you,
Colts,
Jeff.
because we want to get the 1 seed from the Pats. So we're cheering for the Colts.
Yeah,
right? Is that right?
Yeah, I think you have to.
Is that right,
as
Lucas?
hard as that is, it's a win-win if the Titans get the job done Sunday. You're either the 1 seed or you're the AFC South champ if you beat the Steelers.
If the Colts lose.
If the Colts lose, if the Pats win that game and the Titans win, you clinch the
AFC South champs.
Right.
Yes, but then you're still essentially a game behind the Patriots, because if you tie with them, they beat you head-to-head.
Yeah, and if the Colts win, beat the Pats, and you beat the Steelers, you're the 1 seed and you're 1 win away from clinching the AFC South.
What a crappy Saturday night, though, to have to root for the Colts against the Patriots. Holy crap.
I'm watching it because I'm like, okay, which team do I not want to play? But who else does the Pats play the rest of the season?
Bills one more time next week.
Oh, the Bills owe them one. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
In Gillette Stadium.
No, in New England, because it was in Buffalo.
And the Titans and the Patriots are even. They're both 9-4. So, but that would say the Titans still had to win out, though. Then they would have to. The Patriots have to lose 1 more, and Titans would have to win out.
And then the Pats have the Dolphins again, I believe, and the Dolphins are hot. Titans got to play the Dolphins
they
too.
always play the Pats tight too, man.
Yeah, they give them trouble late season every year, even with Brady.
Oh yeah, they beat them at the end of. They beat them a couple of years ago on the last crazy stupid play of the game when Gronk was out there playing.
And Tannehill.
Everybody plays the Jaguars at the end of this year. The Colts have them. The Titans had them. So the Patriots are at Colts. Then they host the Bills. Then they host the Jags, and then they go to Miami.
Yeah, that's 3 tough games.
Miami stole the 1 seed away from New England in 2019 when the Titans went to New England.
Because of that. Yeah.
Tua's playing a lot better.
Oh, no, Tua scares me because he runs around. He's mobile.
Yeah, the Dolphins are starting to hit a little bit of stride. It's a dangerous team.
let's get Willie right quick because he was kind enough to hold
Willie-
to Willie
Willie
on the
Wonka.
Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. What's up, Willie? What you got?
Willy Wonka.
Willie, you there? Going once? Willie?
Willie, take it off mute.
Yeah, I'm here, guys.
Hey,
okay, there
welcome
you
to
go.
the party. What's going
Yeah,
on?
Just tell your boss
Okay,
you got to
sorry.
do something real quick.
Hey, go Titans, and everything else will take care of itself. But what I was going to call about, you were talking about Jimbo Fisher and about going into his office and saying, win, no money.
Yeah, Mickey said that, not me.
His $95 million
It's guaranteed.
is 100% guaranteed,
Yeah.
Yep.
no matter what.
Yeah.
Yep.
I told you.
It does makes no difference.
Yep.
LSU offered him $125 million for 8 years in November, and he turned it down because they would only guarantee 60% of it regardless.
What a world to live
Oh,
in.
man, I appreciate that call.
Yeah,
That's
thank you, Willie.
fact-checking right there for us. Wow. Yeah, so now let's run this back because you said you would go in there and bet that.
So they owe him half of it. He would get next year. You got to
basically got 2 more years pretty much to say it's worth it to go in and have that conversation.
I still got to have the conversation with him because I got to answer to people. I got to answer to the people writing the checks if I'm the athletic director.
All right, go through now. This we know this is right. How would you present it? Would you present it any differently? Maybe you just would go about it a little differently. You would bring 3 donuts. You would bring 3 donuts and coffee.
I would bring extra donut like the thing from Krispy Kreme where it's a box that holds 3. I would bring those instead of just the one in a napkin.
I always wonder about the dynamics of a big time coach because he's bringing the most revenue
He owns
to the
you.
university. So
Right. He's the highest
is
paid
your
guy.
boss
He's
to a certain extent, even though you're his boss. You're making like $1 million and he's making $10 million.
I've still got to tell him, you've got to do better than 8 wins, man. We brought you here. Kevin Sumlin won 8 wins. I mean, we brought you here to do better than this.
No, that's why I said it's about the presentation. It's all about the delivery.
Well, I talk to him every week though, so we talk.
Oh,
I can speak candidly with him. I'm his AD.
I would kind of be out on the practice field and we stand there jibber jabbing. I try to give him a little elbow. Boom, boom, boom. Hey, what's going on? Hey, man, everything good, man. Hey, well, everything better than 8 wins, huh? Everything's better than 8 wins. Man, we got to get that. We got to get that going, man. Everybody healthy. We good to go in spring.
You got everything you need? I mean,
Yeah, I would be approaching them that way. I would tread lightly. That's what I said, man. Because
I'm not going to be a horse's rear to him.
No, I
but,
know.
But we do have to talk. I mean, we got to talk. I got it. You got to do better than this.
but you're gonna say you got to do better than this.
Yes. Hey, man.
I'm not doing it.
I got to answer to. I got to answer to everybody. I get
What
it.
is he gonna tell you? Yeah, I am. I'm gonna do better than 8 wins. So that's what I'm saying. All I'm gonna say, hey man, we got to make sure we're butt at it. We got to get 9, 10 is the expectation.
Tell me how you're
Hopefully
going to do
that's-
better. Tell me how.
Yeah.
Show me your plan. Let's see it. Let's make a plan together. Let's make a plan together.
Oh, okay. So what would you be expecting him to say to that? Well, show me your plan. What plan is going to be satisfactory? It doesn't matter. Just win.
One that has 12 wins on it. We'll be right back.
It is 2:02. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Titans have designated outside linebacker Bud Dupree to return to practice this week, though he remains on injured reserve ahead of Sunday's road trip in Pittsburgh. Mike Vrabel spoke on Dupree's chances on facing his former team on Sunday. National Signing Day continues across college football. Tennessee, most of the news came earlier this morning. The Vols currently sit at number 16 in the country on the 24/7 Sports Composite. The biggest news of the day, number 1 overall recruit corner Travis Hunter flips from Florida State to Jackson State to go play for former FSU star Coach Prime and Deion Sanders. A COVID outbreak across the NFL. The latest from this morning, Browns quarterback Baker Mayfield has tested positive, as well as Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski. That has also reached the NHL. The Preds announced today the team has 6 players and 6 members of its traveling party currently in COVID-19 protocol. Tonight's game against Calgary was postponed due to issues with Calgary, but Thursday's game against the Colorado Avalanche still on at the moment. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Happy, what is it, Wednesday? Happy Wednesday. Happy signing day. What are we doing? Come on, man. With yourself
going
there.
into the nexus of the nexus. What do you say?
We are. We're halfway through the week show. We're at the nexus of the sports talk universe.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you for bringing that up. Since I did.
I listen to you. I listen to you. You teach me a lot of stuff.
I listen to you
Listen to
too.
you all the
We
time.
sit together in a little
Why are you
room.
turning red? Why you saying? Why you turning red?
You said
your vein is in your forehead.
You said, I listen to you.
I listen to you all the time. I was like the nexus of the something.
Yeah, we're at the. It's like the
I feel like I'm eating gook when you say that.
That's
The
from a-
nexus of the nexus.
that's from a
the
Seinfeld
muck
episode.
of the
That's a
muck
big Brit
of the
thing.
apple pie.
Hey, no, gelatinous muck.
Yeah, that.
It's gelatinous muck season, by the way, because during the holidays, people have pie. It's signing day.
It's
I know.
yeah.
Tennessee.
We got
Do
they
we have a
got
breaking news sounder?
Breaking Vols news
I think
on
next time just let Blaine
104.5
do
The
it.
Zone.
Oh, they had the big voice guy, too. Breaking Vols news.
Didn't Ryan Callahan say this guy?
James Pierce.
Yes, like
yes, he did.
37 minutes ago. We were like, hey, man, any potential surprises out there? And Callahan wistfully was like, well, there is one guy. They just got that guy.
6'5", 220 out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Number 22 edge rusher in the country, a 4-star prospect, has signed with Tennessee.
They need a pass rusher too, man. Oh man.
6'5", 220. He's full-sized.
Mm-hmm.
That was my playing height and weight.
What, you just reversed him 6'5" to 5'6".
That would change things.
You got confused there, so
What involved those numbers, yes.
yeah.
So he is, this has to put them in the top 15. They were 16.
must.
Certainly. Yeah.
That's a win by
Had to beat out
UT.
Georgia for him.
Oh.
Yeah, beat out Georgia for him. Yeah, that's huge.
Well, his primary recruiter at Georgia is now the head coach at Oregon.
Oh, that might have helped him.
Oh, yeah.
That Lanning kid, right?
Yeah,
Like,
Lanning.
coach. Mhm.
He's like 35, remember?
Yeah.
I didn't even know who the DC. I had no idea who Georgia's DC was, man.
Well, college football is going younger. I mean,
Yeah, they are.
Auburn just hired Austin Davis, quarterback Austin Davis, as their new offensive coordinator.
Who did?
32 years old, Auburn,
Wait,
Oh,
to replace Mike
the
Bobo,
quarterback?
Austin Davis was.
who spent a cup of coffee with the Titans.
That's exactly who I'm talking about.
Yeah, was a
He
quarterbacks
played
coach for Seattle this past season.
Mississippi, Southern Miss. Yeah,
That's the college he went to, Southern Miss.
Southern Miss. And
New
then,
OC at Auburn.
and then he started like 2 or 3 games for the Rams when all their quarterbacks got hurt one year.
Yep.
He kicked around the NFL for like 6 years. Austin Davis. There you go. There's your Austin Davis moment on the show today, everybody. So
Now I know.
let's refresh these rankings. Tennessee.
Oh,
They
top
haven't.
50.
They haven't refreshed the rankings yet. Still shows them with 19 commits. He's not on there. They were 16. They were just behind Florida State, who is 15.
I mean, do you think the fan base is happy with being Lucas naturally being a graduate from there, Mickey, with being in the top 15? I feel like that's a win. Maybe I'm just looking at it differently, but
Yeah, as Callahan said, I mean, you were looking at top 25, top 20, especially with the missed opportunities in state. Yes, I think at this point you can safely say he has surpassed expectations.
yeah, that's a big time. Oh man.
Well, at this
That's
point,
pretty good.
You got to just start beating out like Kentucky, who came in here, as you pointed out earlier, and got the Wade twins. And, Kentucky came in and
They got
cleaned
the
up.
Pearl Cone kid too, right?
Yeah, and got the kid.
I cannot let that happen.
Well, you got 3 big wins on the day that could have gone either way. The Justin Williams, 4-star running back, Auburn or Tennessee, went with Tennessee. Tyree West, the former Georgia commit defensive lineman, picks Tennessee over Florida State. And then most recently, James Pierce.
Those are big.
See, to me, them landing in the top 15 at this point, it's really no different than how the season went. I mean, it just shows like things are on schedule. They won 7 games. They got a chance to win 8. They went to a bowl game. All that got handled. Callahan was thinking, gosh, if they could get in the top 25, well, they're going to be in the top 15 as of this. So it's Josh Heupel again. If there's a level of expectations to me, this is him kind of bowing over the top of it again.
Oh yeah. I've always felt that they would be right at this point. I was saying 6 wins, so they got to 7, so that's kind of right on par. Maybe could have even won more if you're kind of looking at the quarterback situation. You never know with that. But to me, a lot of people say, he built the foundation. To me, now the real work begins. So how much does he do? Because there's always going to be a question how big of a recruiter he is. So with another season, how good does he recruit then? And then where does the expectation goes with the fans? And that's going to be the real issue because they potentially could win 9 or 10 games next year. You go back and look at their schedule, and then if they get Mays and Tillman back, they already got Hooker coming back. I mean, your expectations are going to be up there. And that's where the pressure ratchets in on, okay, can he, coach under these type of eyeballs watching now with the expectations at 9 going in? Because potentially they could have won 9 this season. You go back and look, they could have easily beat Pitt. They could have won some
if
games.
Hendon Hooker starts the Pittsburgh game, do they win that game?
I would say so.
I think so.
Yeah, I would say so.
And then of all the games to lose, Florida, who just went.
Well, that was the one drop there that the receiver dropped that pass.
Yeah.
That kind of changed the tenor of that whole game. But, and then now Florida to me, with a change of coach, that could be winnable. Like now. You don't know what's going to happen with their quarterback situation. Those guys may vamoose.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of people vamoosing. That transfer portal is like, it's like my plate at Thanksgiving.
Man.
It's so full, there's not room for anything else.
Well, with the extra year the players got in college, they are really the middle-of-the-road elite players are getting left out in dust in high school. There's some good players. So, guys like, schools like Ball State and Arkansas State is going to be sweeping up against some good players. That's how I look at it. The transfer portal has got guys who you can look at and see and what they can do.
Sure.
And that, coaches are going that way. And I see why. And then, the NLI, good Lord. That's just, that's a whole nother layer. As Lane Kiffin said, these guys is free agents.
Yeah.
Hey, the NLI is going to pay me over this amount. Are you going to beat that? Uh-oh.
I'm looking at rivals, guys. Have you? I had 24/7 pulled up on my iPad because we had Ryan Callahan on earlier. By the way, you will want to catch that on the podcast later today. You also want to go back and listen to yesterday's podcast. We had a call at the end of the show that was amazing. A gentleman called from Kentucky. His wife was in her car in the tornado. It picked her up, moved her down a hill, and laid the car down with her in it. Not a scratch on her, not a scratch on the car.
That's unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. Tennessee on rivals, number 12.
Woo!
12. So 24/7, it doesn't look like has updated yet with the addition of Pierce.
Dang. You get it close to top 10. That's a good and a bad because people go, well, we had a top 10 recruiting class.
You got to win 9 games. What is the next logical stop, though? If they win this bowl game and Purdue has 2 pro players that aren't going to play, Karlaftis and
they're going to win this game.
You got to win that game. Although their quarterback still slings it around. They sling it around.
Well, and Purdue just randomly knocking off top 5 teams this year.
Yep.
They're one of the stranger teams in college football. But you're talking about next year?
Yeah.
What's the logical – if they win this 8th game in a bowl game, people are going to say, don't you have to win?
9-3. I think so. Yeah. There's a path for that because you play a Kenny Pickett-less Pittsburgh team
That's true.
on the road.
Yeah, Pickett's going to be the number one quarterback drafted this year.
Yeah, ACC champs. Clemson finally drops
man.
off, doesn't win the ACC, and Tennessee plays Pittsburgh the
Of
year they
course.
win it. But no, I think there's a path to 9-3 there. If you beat one of Florida or LSU and Pittsburgh, it's there. It's all laid out for you.
Because coaching change at Florida LSU, I think it's ripe for the opportunity. Yeah. Hey, man, this is a good time right now, man. And then it's offense. I mean, they putting up points, and then the defense is just all about penetrating, slanting, getting in the backfield, causing havoc. And then you'll have to deal with probably your DC leaving after next year.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen.
You're going to have to.
You
If
win
you're
9 games,
successful,
man.
Then you have all the things that go with success. People poach your coordinators and that kind of thing. If you were an offensive football player, Josh Heupel's thing works. It worked at Missouri. It's worked everywhere. And you go back and look at Oklahoma, and he kind of got sacrificed for other stuff that was happening. His offense works. It never doesn't work. It worked amazingly at UCF. If you're an offensive football player,
licking your chops, man.
Man.
You're going to have stats galore, running back,
we run
quarterback,
90,
receiver.
95 plays every game. That's opportunities for everybody. You are going to eat.
Is that appealing to linemen, though?
I don't know.
That was
They're
my
doing a
big
fine,
question
they're doing
going
a fine
into
job.
it.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying, if I'm an old lineman, I don't know if that's what I want to hear.
Well, we're going to say, hey, coach, we need to run a little bit more than I want to. But it's really about your recovery. They were running plays every 12 seconds.
Yeah.
So how quickly can you recover and get back? Now, got to know that the defensive guys are going to be more tired than you because there's no way you can practice against this.
Right.
So you still have an edge, and I get it, So you can show you're a good run blocker as well as pass blocker. I think you can. I really do. After watching for a year, I think you can.
Well,
Maybe not some of the top tier guys, but some guys and they do a good job of development. I think they can.
but a really athletic guy who's maybe 290 instead of
Or a
315.
late bloomer who
Yeah.
played basketball and all of a sudden he's a football player his last 2 years and he's, underdeveloped and they go, this dude has the athleticism. We just got to put a little weight on him. Mm-hmm.
They can do that in college. They did it to all of us. Pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do it differently, though.
Oh, yeah, I definitely, that pepperoni sausage, even in the morning when it was cold. No microwave.
Well, I just ate it straight out of the refrigerator. I had a friend who would leave the box on the coffee table and then eat it straight off the coffee
Oh,
table.
everybody did that. Come
Not
on
with
now.
sausage, though. It's pork. You can't put.
It didn't matter. We were college students. It's going down.
I had a cat stomach even then, bro. I can't eat pork that's been sitting out all
Oh, man.
night.
I was putting it down. I didn't care.
Let's do this. Jordan
Jack
Dajani
Stomach.
is going to join us next. We'll talk NFL. There's some crazy stories, especially with all this COVID stuff. But right now, speaking of COVID, the Preds have, 6 players and 6 other members of their organization right now dealing with COVID. So, just be careful out there, everybody. But it is Winning Wednesday for you. 104.5 The Zone and the Nashville Predators beat call number 5 now for a chance to win tickets to tomorrow. Let's hope tomorrow night's game.
Tickets are still good. They're still
Predators
good if
versus-
they get postponed.
Okay. Oh, yes, they'll still be good. So for whenever the Preds play the Avalanche, as early as tomorrow night in Smashville, the puck potentially would drop at 7 o'clock. You can be caller number 5. You can win the Predators' regular season tickets to all games are on sale now to the general public. Get yours today and paint the town Preds. Go to Bridgestone Arena. Don't miss out on any hockey this season. When we come back, we won't miss out on NFL talk with Jordan Dajani. That's next on Blaine and Mickey. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone, National Signing Day. The Vols land James Pierce, who's a 4-star, kind of on the fence. We had Ryan Callahan on earlier, and he said that would be the surprise that might happen, and it just happened. So they're up to number 12 on Rivals.com. Jordan Dajani, he's a UT grad, right? Jordan, do you follow all this signing day stuff?
Hey, what's going on, guys? I wish. I've been pretty busy over the past couple days. I remember when I was back in college, it was such an exciting day. You would stand outside the facilities and see as the names came through and everything like that. But unfortunately, as I've gotten older and, actually have a career and things like that, I've kind of fallen back. But I really do want to get back into it.
Well, let's get into this. Kind of some scary stuff. The Preds have now got a situation going. They had a game postponed this week because of it, COVID. And all around the NFL, there seem to just be positive tests soaring. What's the latest that's going on with the National Football League and anything to do with COVID-19 and that policy?
Yeah, this is a big deal. We're approaching 100 players, triple digits, that are going to be on reserve COVID-19 lists around the 32 NFL teams. So because of this, this is the worst COVID outbreak that the NFL has dealt with since the pandemic started. And because of that, NFL media's Ian Rappaport reports that the league and the NFLPA are continuing to have discussions about potential changes to the COVID-19 protocols. And, I would anticipate that some of these would be pretty big changes. I've seen a lot of different reports that would really kind of shape the game. I mean, we have Mark Mask of the Washington Post talking about how vaccinated asymptomatic players who test positive for the coronavirus could potentially return to the team sooner, kind of get rid of that 2-day different 24-hour tests that would come up negative for you to return to the facilities. Albert Breer is talking about basically incentivizing players to get those COVID-19 booster shots, not only because it's mandated, but because the NFL will stop testing those players who get those booster shots. So we could see some serious changes to the protocol come down the line as soon as this afternoon. But the bottom line is that the NFL is going to have to make some changes because, as I stated, things are as bad as they've ever been when it comes to reserve COVID-19 lists and all of the notable names that are on it. The NFL definitely doesn't want to postpone games or cancel them, so they have to find a way to kind of get through this.
With Jordan Dajani, CBS Sports, talking all things NFL on Blaine and Mickey like we do this time every week.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That was my concerns yesterday as me and Mickey were talking that, these outbreaks, and we was talking about the Cardinals and the Rams and how they were missing, Jalen Ramsey here locally, and then how that can impact going into the playoffs, let alone playoffs, because the NFL will not be canceling any playoff games. Do you see them moving even some of these last few, 4 games or even playoff games?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the NFL, as we know, they don't want to not only not cancel games, but they don't want to reschedule games as well. But I think that they have to allow for themselves an avenue in their minds where that might be possible. As long as you're not canceling the game, moving the game a day or two might be coming down the line. Now, at this point, it's too early to speculate on that just right now. I'm kind of more interested to see what exactly changes in the protocols we're going to see. But I think we always have to be open to that possibility, just in terms of things continue to get worse. If we see more positive tests come in tomorrow on Thursday, that's going to be something that we can discuss.
Well, speaking of worse, I mean, is Urban Meyer going to be surviving the second season coming up? Or, man, even the quarterback, Lawrence, doesn't even look better than the first time the Titans played him. So his development is not going in the right direction. I mean, I know he's making a ton, I'm sure. But, man, I don't know if he's built for this. What do you think?
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence is an interesting point because there were points at the earlier part of the regular season where I really felt like he was developing positively. I thought, he was going to kind of turn a corner, maybe move up into that top 4 of offensive rookie of the year odds. That didn't happen. I mean, the Jaguars had their bye week, and he's kind of regressed every single week, and he's not doing very well, which is tough because I think everybody understands that he possesses a lot of talent. He's somebody who can be a franchise quarterback in this league, but of course it's all about your situation and who you're learning under in terms of your development. That really is what turns a player into a elite pro, if you will. Now, as for Urban Meyer, that's a very interesting scenario because we saw Shad Khan kind of come out yesterday or earlier this week, whenever it was, and talk about how he's not going to be hasty. He's not going to be emotional when it comes to trying to make a decision about Urban Meyer's future. And my argument, well, maybe not argument, but point I would like to raise is, maybe it would be a good decision to part with Urban Meyer. Just because you're being hasty with this decision doesn't mean it's a bad one. Now, I'm not necessarily campaigning for that, but you kind of have to sit back and see where exactly your franchise is heading. There isn't much positive to take away from this first year under Urban Meyer, and that goes along with your rookies as well. You had a lot of good draft picks. You spent a lot of money in free agency, yet we're entering Week 15, and you have no chance at making the playoffs. It's been a failure of a season. So you really have to kind of take a step back and see what kind of direction your franchise is going. And I think there's going to be a lot of closed-door meetings with Urban Meyer to see what kind of level of patience they exactly want to have with him. But, yeah, I think we can all agree. I mean, it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving for Titans fans, at least when it comes down to it. But, this will be an interesting storyline to see as we move forward.
Well, let's talk about this Tennessee Titans team versus the Pittsburgh Steelers coming up here. How do you see this playing out? Because – you just never know with Roethlisberger. He may want to. He has one more heroic performance, or do you think they're dead now?
Yeah, how about last week, by the way, against the Jags? I mean, that's the first shutout of Shad Khan's decade-long tenure as the owner of the Jaguars. And the Titans, They've now won 9 games for the 6th straight season. That's the third longest active streak in the NFL. So you love to see it. Now, as for the Steelers, they've won 3 straight. No, they actually lost to the Vikings, didn't they? But this is a team that's really struggling when it comes to scoring defense. I mean, they're number 22 in the NFL. They're allowing an average of 24.8 points allowed per game. They haven't finished that low since 1991. That's when they went out and hired Bill Cowher. So, we talk about the word inconsistency a lot when I come out on your show. And the Steelers are definitely one of those teams that's pretty inconsistent. But one thing that I'm really eyeing is how they're defending the run. And yes, the Titans don't have Derrick Henry, but I think we saw some of the lanes that were being paved by the Minnesota's offensive front when they played against the Vikings, and anyone could run through those holes. So keep an eye on the ground game with the Titans in this matchup. It's going to be interesting, but I'm definitely leaning towards Tennessee. As I talked to you guys about last week, it was kind of a get-right spot against this flailing Jaguars team. So this might be another spot for the Titans to kind of raise their hand and let the NFL world know that they're not dead yet.
Well, you're talking about the wins in Vrabel and everything else going to the playoffs, 9 wins and everything. And naturally, John Robinson was a part of all of those. I think he got 6 consecutive seasons of winning records. I think that's the first in Titans-Oilers history. How do you what's the criteria to judge the success of a GM besides the win-loss record?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, that's something you could probably write a book on. But I think it really comes down to, there's 2 things. I'll give you 2 things that I kind of look at more specifically, and that comes down to how you build a roster. One, of course, is how you perform in the draft. And I think Robinson's had a lot of really good hits. There were some picks that I kind of questioned, but I think that, you're not going to have a pick that's not polarizing in the NFL draft in your entire class. But I think how teams operate within the draft, not only how they use their first couple of picks, but how they operate in the mid-rounds and the late rounds as well. That's when I really pay attention to these kind of front offices and see where they rate their talent and where they're going to take their shots, what kind of moves they're making in the mid-round, what kind of prospects they're targeting. So the NFL draft is kind of a fascinating way and something that's a measuring stick in my mind with how I like GMs and how they operate in terms of where I rate them. The other thing is free agency, and that's even a more complicated issue because you have to obviously pay players their money. It's dominated by what the market says, but also kind of looking out there and trying to see if you can find some gems, if you will, some talent that's not going out for major money, some guys that are kind of under the radar that maybe are kind of broken out or ready for a breakout season. For example, I kind of looked at Josh Reynolds as one of those players. Obviously, that did not work out in Nashville, but look, he's kind of balling with the Detroit Lions right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I look at some of the moves that the general manager is making free agency, not necessarily the big names like Bud Dupree, but other guys they kind of went out and got, such as a Danico Autry that ended up being very big for this team.
No doubt about it. We're on with Jordan Dajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports.
So, Jordan, Titans fans are torn about what to do on Saturday night. Who should they root for, the evil Colts or the evil Patriots?
Oh, man, I have zero idea. That's a really good question. I guess, man, I'm sure everyone wants the number 1 seed and to fight for that. There's no doubt about that. But the Colts are obviously a clear rival, a team that's somewhat surging, a team that no one really wants to face when we get into the postseason, right? I mean, with Jonathan Taylor and with how his defense is playing as well, Carson Wentz is going to have some reps more so under his belt as well. This team is not one that people would be excited to see next up on the docket as they reach the end of the regular season. So to answer your question, there is no right answer. There is no right answer. And that game is probably one of the most intriguing matchups this week as well, because Vegas, I believe, has Indy as a favorite, which kind of surprised me. I was looking at this matchup thinking this could be a trap game finally for the Patriots. Vegas agrees. They have the Colts as 2.5-point favorites. Now, because Vegas agrees, that kind of makes me want to lean the other way. But in terms of who I'm rooting for, I'm not sure. I still got to sit down and write my gambling column each week. And with all the COVID cases going on this week, I have no idea who I'm going to pick. So it'll be interesting to see how that turns out.
Speaking of gambling, Zach Cunningham got waived by the Texans. And it was funny. There were some people who said, he's going to get picked up immediately early on the waiver wire. Other people, including Jason, the over-the-cap guy, said he didn't think anybody would pick him up and then he'd become a free agent. Well, he got to near the end of the list, and the Titans picked him up. Curious to get your thoughts on the Titans picking up Zach Cunningham, who, by all accounts, eligible to play this week.
Yeah, so first of all, when he was waived, I was one of the people that said, okay, yeah, there's going to be multiple claims put in on this guy. We know what kind of a tackling machine he is. And then I saw that Jason, OTC, whatever it was, tweet as well. And I trust him more when it comes to the ins and outs of finances and dollars and cents in the NFL. So that kind of gave me pause when it comes to teams potentially claiming him. But sure enough, I mean, when I got that notification, I was very excited. I love Zach Cunningham, and I'm sure a lot of people in the mid-state too as well who watched his tremendous career at Vandy and see, what kind of player he is and how he dominates the A-gaps and just the inside linebacker position in general. The Titans kind of are in an interesting spot there, with Rashaan Evans, Jayon Brown on expiring deals. You got David Long, who seems like he's an emerging star. You go out there and get Cunningham, and I think this is a guy that could definitely help you for a postseason run. You also throw in the element of the change of scenery. This is something that could be beneficial not only for the Titans but for him as a player as well. I would have a hard time believing he was loving his time he spent with the Houston Texans and that franchise with how they're operating. Now he gets to play for a rival team and kind of reinvent himself, reintroduce him to the NFL as one of the best defenders in the league. So I love the move. It's something that I would do if I was playing Madden and playing GM, but I'm excited to see how it turns out.
Jordan Dajani, our guest this time every week from CBS Sports talking NFL.
Well, the power rankings are up, I'm sure, with you, Jordan. So give me, I guess, your top 3 AFC and NFC teams.
I love it. It's my weekly power rankings with Blaine. I love it.
Yes, I love it.
Hey, all right.
Because it keeps evolving and changing, man. I keep changing my mind, so I can't even tell you.
Oh, I'm totally with you, man. It's crazy every single week. I guess in the NFC is incredibly interesting, man. I really like the Packers at my number 1 spot, but I'm going to continue to bring up Aaron Rodgers' toe. I'm scared that's going to be that little thing that kind of derails their Super Bowl hopes. He's still in pain. He's still talking about it. But at the same time, who really cares? Because he's out there balling, winning games every single week. Now 10-3, tied for the best record in the NFL. Packers at number 1 in the NFC. At number 2, I got to put Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And at number 3, it's kind of tough, but you know what? I'll give the Arizona Cardinals their credit. I'll put them at number 3. In fact, I think that 1, 2, 3 is probably where exactly they're seated in the playoff picture. Now, as for the AFC, I'll get a little bit wild here. My number 1 team in the AFC is going to be Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. We saw what they did against the Raiders last week, and I know the Raiders are not a team that was competing for a Lombardi trophy per se, but that was disgusting dominance from the very first play of the game. I think the Kansas City Chiefs, everyone could probably agree that they're going to be in contention for a Super Bowl. At number 2, I got to give my respect to the New England Patriots. I still don't think that I'm going to put money on them to win it all in Mac Jones' rookie year, but you can't lie. They have a great defense, a great offensive front, one of the best rushing attacks in the NFL, and then, of course, the best coach in NFL history. At number 3, I'm going to put my Tennessee Titans. They are currently the number 2 seed in the AFC, but I think a number 3 spot is probably fair right now. They're getting players back at all 3 levels on the defensive side of the ball, with A.J. Brown coming back on offense. Same goes for Derrick Henry. This is a team that could be somewhat well-rested heading into the playoffs, so keep an eye on them when it comes to a prospective Super Bowl run.
Well, I'm going to ask the back end of that. One NFC, one AFC team that does not make the playoffs that you go, man, if they would have got in, they would have been a tough out.
Ooh, that's an interesting question. So, looking at the NFC playoff picture, I don't know if I could bring up a good one. So, for example, Washington is currently in the playoffs right now, but I don't think anyone would be surprised if they lost that last wild card spot.
Yeah.
The Rams are going to make the playoffs. The 49ers are going to make the playoffs. So, to answer your question, that kind of comes down to the Minnesota Vikings and the Philadelphia Eagles. So, I guess the answer is probably Minnesota. Justin Jefferson, one of the best receivers in the NFL. Kirk Cousins, kind of been playing some good ball for most of the year at least. Some problems on defense, but the Vikings are right there on the bubble. It'll be interesting to see if they can kind of pull off a run here in the final 4 weeks, and Washington's hanging on by a thread. Now, as for the AFC, I think there's kind of an obvious answer here, and I don't know if I necessarily am going to put money on this or guarantee this, but how about the Buffalo Bills right now? Sitting at 7-6. They are the last, just like Washington in the NFC, they are the number 7 seed in the AFC. That is the last playoff spot. Behind them are the Cleveland Browns, Cincinnati Bengals, Denver Broncos. Those are teams I do not like. I would not want to watch the Browns or Bengals or whatever play in the postseason. Rather see Buffalo. But Buffalo is trending downwards. Josh Allen is a little bit beat up right now. I think it speaks a lot to this team that Josh Allen was able to go out there and rack up basically 1,000 yards of offense against the Buccaneers by himself, and this team still lost. They don't have a rushing attack. They're inconsistent in the passing game. The defense might be a little bit overrated. So I like the Bills to probably make the playoffs, but to answer your question, I mean, they're trending downwards right now.
Man, Bills Mafia is getting table set right now to jump through them.
While on fire, them and the table.
Yes, we're with Jordan Dajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports.
Jordan, thank you, man. Always great catching up with you. Hope you're having a great holiday season, and look forward to catching up with you again next week, sir.
Yeah, you guys too. And on my way out, I want to deliver some news to you from Adam Schefter. Apparently, Arizona Cardinals wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins is going to miss the rest of the regular season with a sprained knee. So that'll be something you guys can talk about. Hopefully he's back for the playoffs. But that's a pretty big development for those Cardinals who are out there to go get the number 1 seed. Again, really appreciate you guys having me on your show. Excited to talk with you guys next time.
Sounds great. DeAndre Hopkins got hurt on a jump ball, left the game against the Rams. So the Cardinals have not only lost that game, they also lost Hopkins during the game. Man, crazy times in the NFL. All right, when we come back, everybody's talking about the Titans' offensive line. Mike Vrabel talked about them today. Also, it's National Signing Day. Where are the Vols right now, according to Rivals? If you are a Vols fan, you will want to hear this next. It's Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone.
I think that there's been some really, really good moments. I think that there's some, I don't think it's been a complete, breakdown. I think that there's been, missed blocks, and pass protection, mistakes. But they've had some really, really good performances, and I'm confident that, we just have to stop having it be one person each and every time. And I believe that. It's not coach speak. We can show you on the film whether it's talking about the offensive line, whether one time is Taylor, or one time it's Quiz, one time it's Roger, one time it's somebody different. Just like maybe a back misses a cut, maybe a receiver doesn't run a great route, and that's football. That's offensive football. That it's going to take all 11 guys doing their job to execute.
It's Mike Vrabel today during his media availability. He was asked about the Titans' offensive line and the pass protection issues, and Blaine essentially said everybody heard what he said. It's one guy at a time. It's not this major bust. It's this guy on this play and this. He named people, Taylor and Quiz. He was naming guys. Are you encouraged when you hear something like that? Like, okay, if it's one guy on every play, just think if those one guys started to get there, whatever their assignment is on that play, correct. Are you encouraged when you hear it's one guy on every play?
Well, yeah, to a certain extent, yeah, I do, because that is true. That does happen. But my analogy of what actually happened could be totally wrong, but I feel like the week off hurt the guys in the trenches more than anybody, and I think it was the offensive line. Because you got to think about when the season starts, the offensive line just looks okay. Every year Vrabel's been under there. And sometimes when you're not having that physicality week in and week out, and even all throughout the 2 weeks maybe, just trying to make sure that they stay fresh, it may have taken them a little while to get back to that physicality and that timing that you need for everybody to kind of work as one. So that's kind of how I view it. It's somewhat similar to what he's saying, but that happens every game to me. Somebody makes a mess up here, or everybody did something right on defense, then all of a sudden they didn't have contain, or offensive line didn't hook them, and so then somebody had penetration, and so those things happen every game, to be honest. What you can't simulate, the game intensity and actually going full go when you're trying to get everybody healthy. I think it's been a couple games that we talked about Southfold and the nerve issue right in his shoulder or neck or whatever's going on, but then he was off for a couple weeks, and all of a sudden it comes right back because it hadn't been getting hit. And all of a sudden it goes, uh-oh, this is alarming again.
Yeah.
And he was probably feeling great because I don't think it bothered him the last couple. It hadn't happened before this game, at least 2 games. I hadn't seen him get down. Maybe it did, maybe one time. But so that's kind of my belief in it, that they'll rev up and they'll be a lot better. Because without this offensive line and being able to run block, that kind of hurts everything else. And that's what's going to really happen when they get in the playoffs. And so they're going to have to be able to pass protect better when they're forced to throw the ball, and it can't be 3 steps and get rid of the ball. So the defense are going to be too good in the playoffs. So that's why you get to see a really Tannehill lift up if he has the weapons out there. So we're still testing the waters with Julio. Yeah, he finished the game, and he had a little bit of production, but can he continue it and get better and get more comfortable, and then hopefully have some other guys in the fold? Hey, we're going to have Bud Dupree potentially back.
Yeah, he's
so see if he makes it through practice for the week. Yeah. Those abdomen, deals can be really tricky. He can look really good at practice, and then, your core is part of everything that you do as an athlete. And I don't care what sport it is. So just never know when that could go wrong. So I'm just taper it down and don't force it just because you're playing the Steelers.
36 seconds ago, here is your practice report for the Titans from John Glennon, and we'll give you that top 10 news for the Vols. Yeah, I said top 10. We'll give you that before we get. Yeah, I'll give you that just 1 second. Not spotted during the open portion of practice: Jackrabbit, Cruikshank, Carter, Long, Saffold, Murchison, David Long. Another day of missed practice. Returning to practice, Tier Tart, Bud Dupree returned to practice. Also, the first practice for Zach Cunningham. So the David Long thing continues to concern me. He's missed several weeks now and has never gone on IR, which makes me wonder if what they're waiting on or what they thought that would be right that's not right by now. if I can say it that way. But anyway, that's per John Glennon there. Okay, Vol fans, got to let you go with this, and I know 3HL will be wall-to-wall with this coverage. Tennessee is up to number 10 in this class, according to Rivals. The last time I checked, 24/7 had not upgraded their rankings. They were number 16 the last time I landed there. But Ryan Callahan was on with us earlier. You can go back and listen to our podcast. He talked about, well, there's one guy that's still out there. Maybe they could get him. If they do, that Callahan said that put him in the top 15 for 24/7. James Pierce, 6'5", 220, edge, has committed to Tennessee. That was their big surprise today.
That was huge. That's big.
He's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, that's big time, man. To do what the coaching staff has done at Tennessee in recruiting and not getting a lot of players out of Tennessee and still have this kind of a day is you got to tip the cap to the coaching staff and Heupel and crew. Yeah, no doubt about it. So they're going in the right direction for sure. After we saw the season, now adding this addition, let alone it's not over. We still got the TP, transfer portal.
Yep.
You may lose some guys too to that. You never know, but you got the portal to rely on to go get some players. As long as you ante up with the NLI. Nah, just kidding.
So Tennessee, number 10 on the way out. Let's tell you across town for all you Vandy fans. I'm scrolling.
Having a solid day so far.
31 on Rivals right now, too. Ooh. They were 31 earlier today on 24/7. So Tennessee up to 10, Vandy up to 31. We can give you a recap of everything tomorrow.
Arden Simmons getting it done, him and Clark Lee.
There you go. First class. Vandy better than Florida, says Lucas Panzika, the Tennessee grad.
Has that ever been said before in recruiting?
Probably not.
Yeah,
you were the first.
There you go. You said it. Congratulations, Lucas. We'll be back tomorrow. More from Lucas Panzika and Blaine and Mickey tomorrow. Time to get out of here, though. Time for 3HL.
So, yeah, it's a beautiful day outside.
Sure is.
Between time in the meantime. What, Mickey?
You know it every day, brother.
Peace.